This is the One Piece Podcast, episode 860 for the week of Monday, March 17th, 2025. It's SGS week. My name is Steven.
And I am Greg.
And Simba, to round out the trio, is, he is outside of my office. Normally he would be napping in here, and Greg always is tickled by hearing him start to whine whenever we do our little time sync. But he has decided that he loves this blanket on the couch now, and he'll eat his food or whatever, and we're looking around like, wait, where did he go? Where did he park himself? And he's just on the couch with like his front paws on this little blanket that is on there. So he is not present, but he is in spirit for this recording. So the SGS, if you are not familiar, if you're new, is modeled after Oda's SBS. This is our special off-week podcast when the manga is not in session, where Greg, who is a columnist for VJump, OnePiece.com, and a series advisor for Netflix's One Piece series, and me, Steven, the translator for One Piece manga in Shonen Jump and MangaPlus, break down the latest events and share our expertise. So,
well, Steven shares his expertise. I share. I have no idea what I share.
There's a word for it, but
it's 5:30 a.m. and I had a late night, so
oh boy,
I share something, a presence. That's my presence.
Well, we'll take it because that's the best we can get, thanks to time zones, which yes are even weirder this week because we did go through the wonderful daylight savings time. Just recently.
Did you?
Yes.
All right.
I know it's a foreign concept in Japan, but
that's always important for calling home. So like,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it felt like a weird one this year, but what's up with you? Anything else? Anything interesting?
Got a new car.
Oh, that's right.
So there's that. Got a minivan.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty nice one. The only requisite I had for it was that it has an HDMI input so that I can plug my Steam Deck into it and play the Steam Deck on the car TV. So that was a process finding that vehicle, but we eventually did, and I am a happy camper. So now during breaks at school, I off to the car.
Wow.
And set up my phone as a tethering device, and then play Final Fantasy XIV from my car, on my car monitor. We are truly living in future times.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think did you say that you are now a 2-car household?
Oh my goodness, yes, we are. We are
not
now a 2-car.
Not so strange in America, but not the case in Japan.
Oh yeah. This is a freedom unlike I have ever tasted. Like going to college, living in a dorm, nothing compared to a 2-car family for 2 people.
Nice.
Yeah. Lots of gym time, which makes me a happy camper.
Yeah, that's good. So for me, I'm weighing, do I want to tell this story or not? I think I do.
I think you do.
So I didn't mention this the last time. I told you off air about like what was going to happen last time we recorded. So it was a couple of weeks ago now, but I didn't share this story because it didn't really have anything to do with the main podcast. But I have a tale to share about cleaning a horror apartment.
Oh man!
Which yes, yeah. I was telling you like, oh, we got this thing coming up, and I don't know what it's going to be like, and so I'll try to keep it short and not go too into detail because there's a lot of detail to explain. But basically, the short story is like my mom was helping out a friend with some rent. And so her name was on the lease for this little tiny studio apartment. And the friend had some, I don't know, mobility issues, and was kind of I don't know if she's technically a senior, but she's fairly old, I would say. And she ended up, I don't know if there was some breakdown or what, but after a couple years, this lady moved out to live with her son or something. Like, she found another arrangement, but she kind of ghosted my mom. And so the property management came in and saw the place and were like, okay, like, everything is still here pretty much. So we're going to have to pay someone to we're going to have to pay someone to junk all of this furniture and whatnot. And you probably want to see what this looks like, because that's going to pay a lot, and the security deposit is not going to cover it. And we're going to have to, take you to small claims court or whatever in order to collect, the remainder and whatnot. So basically we were like, okay, we'll clean this place out. And I don't want to overstate it, because it certainly could have been worse. Like, this lady was not on the level of, like, what is it, Hoarder House or whatever the show is, where, you see the people that save every single thing. It wasn't quite like that, but it was the worst thing I have ever seen personally. I may be sheltered. But I'm grateful that there were no rodents there. We didn't have to deal with mice or anything like that. Everything was insect in nature. But holy cow, this place was absolutely disgusting. And there were only 3 of us, which I think if our original date had worked out, we would have ended up with closer to like 8 people, which probably would not have worked, because this was is just a studio, like, single room apartment, and we would have been, falling all over each other. We only had 3 people, but we were super efficient. And I would say in probably like 6 hours of work or so, we probably got it to like 70% habitable. But yeah, so like I think she took her bed, but everything else, like all the furniture was still there. The cabinets were full of, all the cooking stuff, all the food. The fridge was totally full of food, which was rotting. And yeah, all the sinks and all the drains were messed up in some way or another. I ended up cleaning out the kitchen for the most part, and there weren't that many live roaches, and they were small. They were like the end joint of your pinky finger, let's say. So
that's
not the big
episode
ones.
title. That's the episode title right there. There weren't that many live roaches. Oh my
Let me write
God.
that down.
That's an awful sentence to say.
Yes, but there were hundreds, if not thousands, of dead ones. Yeah. Oh yeah.
No.
And this lady had cats. Although according to my mom, I think they were elderly already, and I think they had all, like, maybe 2 of them, I would guess. I think they had passed like a year or 2 before, but all of their like hairballs and whatever else was like stuck on these nice wood floors. Like, it was not a bad place. Like they had nice wood floors. I think it had been probably redone prior to her moving in, probably 10 years ago or something like that. And yeah, so like most of the time after cleaning out just kind of dumping everything out of the kitchen, I spent probably 3 hours or so just using wet, like, mop style Swiffers, and just like every square foot, just like just nothing but cleaner and friction, trying to get all these stains out of this wood floor. And yeah, there are plenty more details. I kind of feel bad about sharing even what I already have, because there was worse stuff involved, but it was a crazy experience. And I'm glad that we all decided, okay, we did what we can. That's it. Like the lady came to relieve us basically because she was going to leave. And so we handed the keys back and we were like, okay, that's it. This is what we can do. And I will never have to go back there again. But That was quite an experience. It was a truly no good deed goes unpunished kind of scenario, because my mom was not happy about this lady pretty much just kind of leaving the scene of the crime and running away, and not helping out at all. But rough stuff.
Oh my gosh. I'm sorry you had to experience that.
Yeah, it wasn't fun. Let's see. Thank you. So aside from that, let's talk about more fun things. We are going to be discussing, what do we have? 3 chapters, I believe, this week, which is 1140, Scupper Gaban, 1141, An Older Woman or Older Women, and 1142, What I Am Most Afraid of. And we'll have some fun commentary on that, I'm sure. But before we get into all of the recaps and whatnot, I'll do the usual Patreon plug. You can subscribe to our Patreon at patreon.com/One Piece Podcast in order to get some extra fun stuff that will make each episode a little more fun. You get some bonus recordings from the usually from the middle, where our one of our amazing artists will you'll hear them unveil the sketches for the episode art that you will also be able to see on Patreon. And you can hear our reactions, hear us discuss which title we want to use, et cetera, et cetera. That's always fun. That's always one of the highlights when we're recording the show, is to find out what sort of silly stuff our jokes, what form they might take in terms of art. So you get to experience a little bit of that yourself if you are a subscriber over there. So do check that out. In news, let's see. We do have a new volume. Volume 111 just came out recently, and I'm not sure. Depending maybe on how long we go, we might try to tackle that also in this episode with the rest of the podcast crew. Don't worry, Greg, you're off the hook. But we should get to that sometime soon. I don't know exactly when. I just got my copy today, actually. So I skimmed through it, but have not had time to really digest it. But that should be fun. We did talk last week about how the thanks in part to the current hiatus of the anime production, the English dub is now caught up with Japan, which is quite a milestone, long time coming, very cool. And I do believe that in just a month or so, we should get the new episodes will be returning. It is April 13th, I want to say, something like that, when the anime resumes in the Egghead arc. So that should be fun. There's been a lot more stuff going on with, like, oddly, a lot of sports crossovers in the U.S. We had the Lakers game, which some of our LA folks were talking about recently, and there have been some more crossovers. I want to say maybe the Mariners baseball team, which for a while there they were the most popular team in Japan because of Ichiro and also, well, I don't know if it had anything to do with the popularity, but it was part owned by the president of Nintendo or something like that, or one of the old owners of Nintendo. So I believe that he has passed on, but yeah, the Mariners, longtime fans in Japan, and so they're doing some kind of One Piece crossover thing as well. And I think there are probably some more things that I'm forgetting, but yeah, it's definitely been a big area of expansion, which is cool, I guess. I don't know how effective it is, but it does. It seems like it does get the nerds out to the game, so that's something. Anything anything to expand the crossover, bridge the gap between the jocks and the nerds is always good. But I think that will probably wrap us up for news. So what do you say, Greg? You want to get into some of these chapters?
Nah. Just
okay.
Right here.
I'll do it myself.
All right, let's do it.
This is the manga recap for chapters 11, 40, 41, and 42. And I think I will, we'll just go through them in order. So let me give my very broad summary of 1140 here to refresh the audience's memory. In 1140, Scopper Gaban trolls Luffy with a game of keep away, kicking ass, and taking note of Luffy's Nika form before eventually resigning. Gaban recalls Shanks telling him about Luffy and says to come see him again if Elbaf is still intact when they leave. Gunko summons Saint Summers and Saint Killingham, two quirky holy knights, and Shamrock tells them to capture the kids to take them to Marijoa, and they can use their powers to make it a game, quote unquote.
How should we attack this? Shall we go through all the chapter summaries and then do them all, or shall we do one at a time?
I just figured one at a time.
One at a time?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. What was your standout moment in this chapter?
In this chapter, standout moment.
Yeah.
I mean, I think at least the part that I enjoyed the most was, just the banter and the the comic mischief of, Scopper toying with Luffy and getting him super mad. That seemed very Toriyama-esque to me, actually. I don't know if I ever said that, but it did seem. It reminded me of Roshi messing with Kid Goku back in the day, which was obviously very fun.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does come off that way. I went the complete opposite end of the spectrum. The reveal of Summers and I have been dreading this moment, Stephen.
Okay.
I have been dreading discussing this character's name with you.
Okay.
Because
all right.
I strongly disagree.
Okay.
But I also submit to you in your translation powers. But at the same time, I cannot, in good conscience, call him Killingham when his name is literally just Kiddingham.
So you wanted Keating like Kirin?
Yes.
And
yes. I have been so afraid of this moment for the past 3 weeks.
Well, I think I think it's
because I don't want to step on your toes.
It's an interesting topic to discuss because I totally see this multiple ways. I could have chosen I could have called him Kiringam just with an R instead of the L's. I could have called him I guess like the Chinese way, which would be like Chillingham, where it was Quilin. And ultimately I went with killing him to make it sound more, I guess, British. I guess whenever you have the ham at the end, I feel like that's a very British way. And yes, obviously that's the reference that Oda is going for. I just figured, or the imposition that I'm making on the reader to pick up on that is that it's something that if you see where it is, like it's a semi concealed, I guess, name source where I kind of took it in a, I don't know if localized is the right term for it, but I kind of gave it a little bit of flair. But the source of the name is still like I feel quite apparent, at least in the way when you pronounce it. But it might not be as obvious. But I totally, like if Oda had written out already, Kinigam or one of the other options, I would have no problem, of course, whatsoever in using that. I think those are also perfectly fine. I just went with something that also kind of sounded a little cooler or a little more stylized. That's kind of how I see it.
I was like, he's totally going to go with Keating and the Gam with the, as you said astutely, the ham at the end. I was like, oh, that's totally going to be it. And then it was like Killing Gam, and I was, oh, crap. Now I got to call him Killing. Oh, man. But all right.
Well, I apologize for cramping your style.
No, not at all. But, okay, so the reveal of those two characters was hands down the best and standout moment of the chapter for me, because I don't know about you, but I completely flashed back to the reveal of the yet unrevealed members of CP9 during Ennius Lobby.
Right.
The start of Ennius Lobby. And it was just a great moment because character design and their dialogue, their accompanying dialogue, just paints an entire picture of who they are and what to expect of them. In addition to, I mean, even stuff that doesn't, I mean, quote unquote, doesn't matter, like their fruit abilities. There are even obviously one was far more obvious than the other, but even down to the absolutely absurd heart boxers.
Yeah.
Which is just like, it's a dumb joke, right? Like it's a great stupid joke, but like as we'll discuss later, like that might even come back to being a hint about this individual's fruit powers, which is just so badass that Oda can do this, and I love it. I really miss seeing these kind of and how he does the like the slim cut of the character, of the close up of the character over the top of them.
Yeah.
It's been a while since he's done that too.
Yeah.
All over just felt like a very classic One Piece scene. And I spent a very long time looking at these 2 pages, and I love it. And how cool is it that we have technically, I mean, if you want to, get into it, I mean, there's it's a little bit different than a traditional dragon, but still a Kirin is quote unquote dragon type. And given the weapon here, we now have a dragoon in One Piece.
Nice. I did not think of that. That's cool.
We have a Ryukishi in One Piece. That is so cool.
Now, if at some point in the future, like in a fight scene, he just kind of launches himself off page, and we don't see him for a few pages, and then he comes back and lands on somebody, then we'll know he's a real dragoon. That's an old Final Fantasy reference for you old folks.
So, without, I mean, the whole Scopper stuff was fine. It was fun. I enjoyed it. There are some people, I don't know if you were privy to this or not, but there are some people who are really pissed that Scopper was able to roughhouse Luffy like that.
Really?
Yeah, I did have to silence some people, because some very long time established fans, just because they were very vocal about how and insistent about how unpleasant it was for them to read that section, and it was just like, I'm sorry, I really can't get into that, because it was done in an interesting way.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Luffy obviously doesn't want to be in this fight, so he's not taking it, quote unquote, entirely seriously.
Right.
Until the end.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he does, Scopper's like, "Oh yeah, I'm out,"
Mm-hmm.
which I think it was hilarious to begin with.
Yes.
Super funny. But also I think he realizes that, like, yeah, these two are the real deal. And I think that was a half serious, like, yep. But I don't know anything else about this chapter for you that was fine. We just discussed our main, like, our standout moments, but how about
I do. So looking at this, going back to the introduction of the two new characters.
okay.
I do have two questions for you. I'm curious to know if you had any thoughts or any insight on these, because I remember being a little bit confused by it. And I certainly am not expecting you to know the answers, because I was completely stumped on what they might mean. But did you have any take on the family name for Kiringham, Rimoshifu?
Oh, I have not looked into it at all.
Okay.
I've done this. I've been doing something for a while now, which is where if I see a name or a reference that I don't immediately understand, instead of spending 3 hours on Google and Twitter and 2chan trying to figure out what it is, I just read it and just enjoy the story. Because it's just become so tiring, especially after Wano, with all the characters, that I just kind of got, I don't want to say tired of it, but and it's just, what's the word? It's not anxiety. Burned out. Yeah. From all it. So I kind of roll with the punches now, and just say, okay, there's another name I don't understand. Cool. But the vibe I immediately got from it was like, how do they, I don't even know what this musical, I guess he's a composer. His name is in English, but Rachmaninoff.
Rachmaninoff.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the vibe I got, and I don't know if he was going for that or not.
Like a sort of Russian-y sounding. I mean, yeah, when it ends with Shifu like that, it sort of sounds like, Civ, like SIV or something, ZIV or something like that, which might sound, vaguely Slavic, I guess. I have not actually
Fujimori, maybe. Is he going for a reverse Fujimori?
That's the thing, is when I saw so the first thing I did, of course, was Google that name, which at the time that this chapter came out, I will tell you the number of hits for Rimoshifu in katakana on Google in Japanese was 0. There were 0 hits. It had never been uttered before, at least according to the web searchers over at Google. So it was not going to be a direct reference to anything. It was going to be something a little more veiled. And so I had that same thought where I'm like, just the type of syllables that these are, it strikes me as like, it's probably like a jumble, like a word jumble of something else. And so, I'm like spelling them back, like Fushimori. I don't, like, that's not a name, but Fujimori is, like, like the, there was the guy who was the president of Peru or whatever. I couldn't really come to a conclusive answer on that, and so that's why I actually left it in, like, basically in Romaji, like it's Rimoshifu, because I didn't know, like, maybe it's right, maybe it is a little word scramble thing where if you rearrange the letters, it's supposed to spell out something. Maybe it'll have something to do with his powers, which we don't know for sure yet. I really did not know about that. Maybe somebody has cracked it by now. I have not looked. I didn't look before this. I just saw this when we, flipped through the chapter, and I was like, oh, right. I never really figured out what that was about. The other thing, which I believe I translated this in a way that was vague enough to go both ways. So Summers, I think you would agree, like, and I think Steve like picked up on this because our art of Summers on that episode was the dude from Big Lebowski. Like he just has this very strange vibe to him, like beyond just his design, but also like he just has this very casual conversational style where you know he's sort of like when we see him, he doesn't realize that he's been summoned yet, and he's like yelling at some, you know, he's berating someone over the phone basically and complaining about stuff. And I remember being a little bit unsure because he says here, let's see, he's like, oh yeah, don't we need an hour in 1時間ぐらいもらえる? And then he says, であれどうなった? 兵糧の件よ. So he's talking about food here, or like rations, and he's saying, so what's up with the rations? Like, you're not going to let the gods starve, are you?
Yeah.
And given the circumstances, I actually could not decide for sure one way or another if he was referring to like the general food situation in Marijoa, like do we have food arranged because we can't let the gods starve, or if he's actually just complaining about in other words the rations for this mission or whatever. Like what's our food situation, what are we gonna get, because you're not gonna let us gods starve. And so I ended up kind of cutting it down the middle in a way that you could interpret it either way, but I didn't really know for sure. Did you fall one way or another when you read it or interpreted it?
Unquestionably, because Oda's been threading it in over time. I got the food situation.
Okay.
Because they blew up those reserves, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I completely got from it.
I just wasn't sure because I believe that term hyoro, which is the kanji, are literally like soldier food or soldier ration or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, is that like wartime food supplies, or is that the food that you give to the people who are actually fighting? So anyways, I just thought I would do that. An example for the listeners of the ways in which, like, when Oda likes to throw information at us where we don't necessarily know what they're referring to, or it's being, kind of veiled in a very heavy sort of character tone that sometimes you just don't know for sure if he's doing one thing or the other. And he might be doing one of those two specifically, or he might be just kind of messing with your head and trying to make you guess, but a minor point for sure.
No, but fun to discuss. I always like to get your insight there, because most of the time I will not have considered what you bring to the table. So, love the designs here. I do like that we get basically, again, through artwork, through just clever character design, we get the confirmation that this is essentially our pirate crew. Because one thing that Oda has been very careful about is that more or less with every single enemy entity or organization that Luffy and his crew have come across, you can make the argument that they are a quote-unquote pirate crew of sorts, in that there is something that they are robbing people of, number one. And number two, they have a design that somehow vaguely at least resembles crossbones. And what we have here is very clearly on their armbands, likely the sign of the gods. What do you call it? God's army?
I call them Holy Knights. I know some people call them God's Knights.
Holy Knights, perfect.
Yeah, perfect.
I go with Holy Knights, fine. Unlike killing him. I'm sorry. I'm just
looking at I'm like, do we know? Can we tell what the insignia is supposed to be, or is this going to be another thing where?
Excellent.
Yeah.
So like we can't perfectly tell what it is. He has not drawn it in detail, but one of the
Right.
best depictions is on Killing Kiddingham's
Yeah.
armband,
That's the one I'm looking at right now.
and we can very clearly tell that it looks to be a cross, first of all,
Yes.
and given their association with holiness, with the Kamigami, the gods,
Right.
supposed the celestial dragons. We also see a cross theme in his beard. By him, I mean Summers. A cross theme in his beard, which is probably going to be a common theme for the Knights. All right, they're going to probably have this cross theme threaded into their design somehow, right? Looking at the armband, it actually looks like bones. It looks like almost like Whitebeard style crossbones.
Right.
However, that does not mean that they necessarily are. I mean, it really looks like them, but they very very much might not be. It could be similar to the Mihawk flourishes. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, like the hilt
the curly
of
Q sort of style. Yeah.
Yes, that you see on his sword and appeared very early on the Dons whenever Mihawk appeared. It could be just that. So that's crossed in the center. Turn that sideways and you have a perfect crossbones, right? Like a pirate crew, classic pirate crew crossbones. There seems to be a circle around that. Then horns, perhaps.
Yeah.
And that looks to be the entire symbol. What that stands for, what it means, don't necessarily know yet. I think, let's see.
I mean, the cross, that particular cross symbol, like the, I guess, what would you call it? Like the equidistant cross or the perfect cross or something, obviously does call into mind the world government insignia with the four, the four ends representing the four C's.
Yes.
I think that's
could very well be.
An influence.
What's interesting is that it leaves that, it appears to leave the center open like that, right? That's cool. I don't know why that is, because usually the world government symbol has that it's closed in the center.
That's right.
Whereas this appears to be open. Yeah. Which, geez, now that you're mentioning it, that just reminded me that, of course, even that is a pirate symbol. My God, if you turn it side, geez.
Yeah.
And you know what I just recently realized is that the impel down, like that's why he went for that weird design. Like I know it's the I and the D, right? Like duh. And obviously it's also intended to resemble, the Nazi symbol as well, which I just won't mention for the algorithm. But right. But the other thing is it also vaguely resembles a crossbones. Not very much. It's one of his biggest stretches, but like it's in the realm. So yeah, that's okay.
I'll point out too. I think probably some people are going to scream at us if I don't mention when you talked about the cross in Summers' beard, that he is also from the Shepherd family, so he is related to Jew Peter, who has the Jew kanji as his kind of the middle of his name, which that kanji is basically just a cross. It's a short horizontal and a long vertical. And so there were definitely folks who jumped on that as like maybe that's kind of his version of putting that cross into his design. If it's not in his name, like with Jew Peter, then it's on his design.
Daddy,
Another
maybe Daddy.
Yeah.
Daddy Jupiter, maybe. Could be.
I guess we know Jupiter is probably really, really old. So.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah,
He could be an
like
ancestor,
his great grandson or something. Yeah.
Yeah, he could be that, or I mean, who knows? I don't know if Jupiter's still active, as it were. Like that, he could be a direct son, and this guy is a normal mortal, but clearly related in some way, though.
That's a really good point. It's one of those I hadn't put two and two together. Like I know that the Elder Stars are very old, And
Yes.
like I know that that he was related to this guy, but I just hadn't considered the fact that he could absolutely be like his great 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 grandson, the
Right.
Doi, of course. That's cool.
Hmm.
All right. Summers, which I was wondering, where do you get Summers from? Oh wait, hold on a second. This goes back to the Fujimori. What? Because the first thing I thought of when I saw that name was uh the comedian, the comedian duo Summers. So
Samaz, yeah.
yeah, so like what Summers Japanese comedians? What if one of those is Fujimori?
I didn't think of that. I don't I
Or
don't think so. But that would be
Uchipi, two
pretty.
members. Otake and Mimura. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Nope.
I would have
All
known
right.
that like 10 years ago. I would have known that off the top of my head when I actually watched. It was more recent on my comedians. But
All right. This last line here, coming from Shamsk.
Shamrock.
Shamsk. What did you? How did you interpret that game, Unishiro?
Um.
I thought that was an interesting way to end a chapter. Is a puzzling and teasing phrase.
Yeah. I mean, I thought back to, like they made the God Valley was basically a game, right? Like it just seems like there's a theme of the celestial dragons, or at least this the Figureland family guys really liking, turning like sort of life and death situations for other people into a game of sorts, which obviously is both horrifying to consider and also kind of infuriating that it's like they're they're doing this evil stuff and they're also kind of making a mockery of you at the same time, by turning it into fun and games for themselves. But yeah, I don't know. What did you think?
I wasn't sure whether to think of it as if he's just being threatening, or if he's literally saying to the two of them, like, "Why don't you turn it into a game?" And what's important is because he says, "Considering your powers," right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
He's like, "Considering your powers, or the both of your powers, I think you can turn it into a game." And that's the literal translation. There would be a more eloquent way to put that if he isn't intending what I thought, and he seems to be. But I thought that he was directly saying, like, you can. Is there a way that you can, quote unquote, play with your prey,
Right.
in that sort of sense? And they're jumping ahead a bit, but they seem to be doing a kind of Pied Piper, ultimately,
Yes. Yes.
routine, which
Right.
which kind of let me pat myself on the back for that one, because it seemed he seemed to be going in that direction. It's like, considering what you can do with your powers, I think that it wasn't just being like, you're going to turn this into a game, like in a threatening way, in a kind of mustache twirling villain sort of way, but rather in like, you can actually I don't know a better way to put it than play with your prey, but like e mono de asoberu, like
Mm-hmm.
a way to very much look down on what they're going to do with them in a evil, whimsical way.
Yes.
I think that's the best way I could put it, and that seems to be the case. So that really got me thinking a lot about their powers and, what does this mean.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that was very frustrating for me was I couldn't tell whether this thorn design
The
on the
hilts.
sword
Yeah.
here, whether that was part of his powers or whether that was just in the design. I couldn't really tell from the chapter. So that was
Well,
frustrating, because
yeah.
that gives you a lot to think about. But
He does have a rose on his lapel there on his breast. So maybe that's just part of the part of his motif, his little accent point, is that he's got the rose and the thorns.
And that at this point, that didn't really hit me because celestial dragons are so what's Gyogyoshi?
Like
Not
extravagant
pompous.
or
extravagant, extravagant,
yeah.
perfect. They're so extravagant and out there that like I figured like a rose is of course a rose. It looks so stupid on like the out and like self-congratulating, right?
Yes.
But I don't. We'll come back to it because that's I think something from the next two chapters that we can discuss. But I overall really just I loved that scene because it flashed me back to some classic One Piece, which is going to be a theme actually for these chapters.
Nice. All right. Well, why don't we move on then to the next one, 1141, and in this one, Ripley explains to Frankie that fire and lightning are the weaknesses of Elbaf. While the feast goes on, Gerd inspects the injured castle guards and suspects Rodo is hiding something. Luffy and Zoro see the aftermath of Shamrock's meeting with Loki and argue over what to do with him. The new giant pirates crash land on Luffy's Gum Gum balloon, but it is too late. Loki is very nearly free.
Stand out for this chapter for you?
Stand out for this chapter.
Should I go first? You want some time to think?
Sure, yeah. Why don't you go first?
Okay. Zoro and Luffy's banter. You mentioned the banter in the last chapter. For me, these two being the focus of attention for like part of the chapter and just getting to just Luffyist Luffy and Zoroist Zoro each other was just sublime for me. That, oh my God, Steve, did you fall through the floor when Zoro's like, there's some perfectly fine meat right over there?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was really fun to translate that too, because it felt like, and this is one of those things where like, you know, there could be a variety of reasons for this, whether it's like differences in the language or differences in like the sort of the thought process of the author. But sometimes as a translator, there are scenes that you get where there's people talking back and forth, and like you get it and you're like, oh, I love this back and forth that we're getting, and I want it to go in like this direction or something, or like I want them to take it to this level. And sometimes, you know, the author just sort of stops it short where you're like, oh, it was just getting good. Like I wanted to see this continue. And I feel like this was definitely a case where Oda like just stuck with it, and like the way that it ratchets up and the way that they go after each other was like just what I want. Like it was so funny, and it felt like it was really, I don't know if powerfully written is the right way to describe it, but you know, like he really had them going after each other with like the, you know, like yeah, it's meat, and he's like, no, those are my friends. I'm gonna go hunt some more. It's like, well, meat is meat, and then Luffy's like, no, they're friends. You don't eat friends. You know, it felt like a movie scene or something, like a classic Hollywood movie scene, and that was really fun to work on.
It is, yeah. Wakatta.
Yeah,
it's so cute. Oh my God. And then just a great moment with the ship falling out of the sky. That's awesome. Very unexpected and silly, and Luffy quote unquote saving them. I love that the physics of this is perfect for manga, because Luffy does save them, but you think like, oh great, like they landed on Luffy, wonderful. But think about that logically for like a second. Like, okay, they landed on him. What happens the split second after
to the
that?
force,
They don't just calmly land. Yeah, they don't just like land there. Like they're going to be bounced off, and absolutely, like they're bounced off, and they come back, and you see them. They're completely fucked up.
Yeah,
Luffy, thank you for saving us, but
Thank you for only
Oh,
almost killing us instead of letting us die.
yes,
Yeah.
it's perfect. What a chapter. And of course Loki is free. Lots of silliness there. Leading up to his being freed. Zoro's logic again. I'll kick him. Bam. Oh, he's alive.
Yeah.
He's not faking.
Yeah. One of the fun things too about that of them argue, not so much about like the get the meat and stuff, but like when they're actually talking about what do we do with this guy, is I saw people, again, not to, harp on various anonymous people out there, but people who were getting annoyed with Zorro, that like why is he why is he like the buzzkill here, or whatnot, or like why is Luffy ignoring him? Why are they butting heads? And it's funny because if you think back, there's a very similar situation right at the start of the series where all you ever hear is, don't mess with Roronoa Zoro. He's a bad guy. Like, they caught him for a reason. He's dangerous. He's a wild animal. And what does Luffy do? He completely ignores. He's like, oh, that sounds cool. Like, let me check this guy out. And it really is like almost exactly the same situation with Loki here. Obviously, Loki is a different character, but it is fun to see the consistency in Luffy's reaction toward him, where he's going off of what his instincts are telling him and not what other people are warning him about.
It's like poetry. It rhymes. That is a very astute point. It's almost a mirror, actually, to the start of the series. And then that makes Zoro Kobe, I guess.
Yeah. Kind of, yeah.
No. Kobe. Does Kobe have a last name? I don't think so. Okay.
No.
The other standout in the chapter, and I was already, if you follow me on SNS and whatnot, then you already know my feelings on this. But the other standout moment was Usopp starting his legend, which is a perfect start to it. And this is something I didn't get into, but like the flow of how this is set up is so perfect. And I don't know if this is entirely appreciated by Western readers or Western fans, but like, how did you feel about Usopp being in his cups and interacting with Jarl like this? Like, were you like, yes, that is entirely natural, and like it's the best way that this possibly could have gone? And I don't know if you know exactly what I'm referring to, but like, did it feel natural to you?
I didn't have any problem with it. I'm not sure what you're setting up though.
Okay. This is exactly how a Japanese drinking party will go. Without question is so what he does to Jarl is obviously greatly respected
Yes.
among his people, right?
Right.
And he is despite the fact that he is advanced in his age and he seems to have, some cognition issues, which elephant in the room, we all know the source of.
Yeah.
But how Usopp interacts with him would be very strange under any normal circumstance. And Japanese readers would be like, what the hell is Usopp? Like, how is he allowed to do this?
Right.
In the context of a Japanese drinking party, this kind of interaction, like where the younger people are doing something extraordinarily rude to someone of a higher position, it is maybe not exactly forgiven, but it is certainly forgotten because of alcohol. That is how a lot of, what's the word for it? I think there was a buzzword for it a couple of years ago. It's like no communication, or it's like drinking communication.
Nice. Yes. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
It's kind of like it's the license to forget I guess, social hierarchy, right? Like once the
Yes.
drinks are being shared, then that's everyone is more or less an equal at that point. That their differences are kind of removed
Yes.
in ways that would be
Once
unthinkable otherwise. Yeah.
in ways that would otherwise be unthinkable. So for Usopp to talk to the way that he talks to him, and maybe this is not as clear in Western. I mean, I'm sure Stephen did his best to convey this, but like he's being extremely rude to Jarl, how he refers to him and talks to him, first of all. And then that escalates to that sets you up for like they're accepting this, he's taking this, he's taking this, he's taking this, and then he smacks him,
Right.
which is like even though they are drinking, the giants are still shocked that he's doing that.
Yeah.
And Jarl, of course, is just like, oh, right, like it hurts even. But because they're drinking, this is allowed. And then he continues, with the like, somebody yanked that Excalibur out of him, right? Which is a great line. All of this is being is the setup for what will eventually happen there. That is the Chekhov's Excalibur. And he is going to have been the and by the way, I'm sorry, I'm just looking at it now. The fucking Brook on his crotch gag. How have we not gotten that before? I have no idea how this is the first time Oda has done that, but like it is a brilliant setup for the start of the legend of the brave Captain Usopp. It is so well done from a Japanese reader's perspective, at least, just because the build up to it is entirely logical and it's done in a very entertaining way. It is so smooth. It is silky smooth.
Nice. And
not only that, but it also sets us up for a very sweet scene with Nami. That was a really, really nice, little exchange there she had with Jinbei.
Yeah.
We don't often get that side of her too often. I mean, outside children, right? Like she has a very soft side for children.
Yes.
But to see her viewing her crew member like that, and vocalizing that was really, really quite sweet and special. I do appreciate that very much. So great scene. And I'm just kind of assuming that everybody is in on this at this point. But what I'm referring to, just to summarize the whole thing, is that somebody's going to be yanking that sword out of Jarl's head. I don't know if it's going to be Usopp or Usopp related, but the point is that he's starting that notion, that idea here.
Yes.
And it's obviously something that he wants to do. He has, it's like, what's the perfect setup? It's just like, it's someone who has a compulsive disorder to like, I don't know. You see a line of pencils and one of them is like out of line and you're just like, I gotta move that pencil back in.
It's that,
like
that OCD. Yeah.
That's the sword for Usopp.
I'm curious if you had, again, I'll go to some text stuff, I guess, but I was curious if you thought the chapter title being an older woman, obviously that is referring to the joke here, or I don't think Jarl is joking, but obviously Usopp, he sort of completes the joke by saying, oh, well, there is no older woman. Like, you're the oldest guy in the world, basically.
Yeah.
And I thought it was very curious that Oda chose to use that as the chapter title. Do you think that was just like he thought that was a really funny thing to add, or do you think that there might actually be something else to it?
Oh, there's absolutely something else to it. That is, I mean, it's a good throwaway line, right? Like it's a great joke. But no, that is, there's somebody who is much older than him, who he was into. I wonder if it's the old mermaid princess.
Oh, that'd be good.
Huh. Yeah. But no, there's definitely something there. somebody who from history. It's because he's so old that it's it's going to be somebody from history who he was into. But
Yeah.
I think cool. Yeah. Okay, there's that. There was one other. Oh, I guess just to, and this is a little bit of a tangent, but just to kind of drive home how much all of this drinking atmosphere of the parties and whatnot, how that can be forgotten and forgiven. So there was a time many moons ago when I got blackout drunk at a work party, and I slowly over a period of hours the next day received texts from my coworkers about what had gone on, and I was able to kind of piece together a hangover style how the night went down. But I'll limit it to the start of the evening. But the last thing I really remember was going into a bathroom. We were in this old like Japanese style like tsukune place. Tsukune is like bird. There's like chicken meat and cartilage, like not cartilage. Cartilage, yakitori like mixed style together. Yeah, yakitori style. And it was this old like tatami place, and I went into their little small bathroom, and like that's the last thing I remember. One of the texts, like I got many texts, but one of the texts I got was, "Do you remember dancing with Kacho?" And Kacho is like section chief.
Section chief, yeah.
And I was just like, "What are you talking about?" And they're like, "Yeah, you and Kacho were basically ballroom dancing in the middle of the tatami room in front of everybody." I said, "What?" And it was at that point that like images flashed, and like yes, I do vaguely remember having this man who is my obvious superior in work, in my arms, grasping my arms lovingly, and swirling around the room in the center. Never spoke of it again. Like to him, never spoke of it again. It did not happen as far as everything is concerned. But like the people who were not drinking absolutely remember it. But like, yeah, nothing. That's just it reminded me very much of how all of this goes down. So very much part of natural Japanese culture on display here, and just love it. Beautiful story writing by Oda.
Cool.
Very cleverly done. Anything else? I think, there's lots going on in the chapter, but just little subtle things like that.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know if this is even worth. I guess we could talk about it, but there is the topic which it kind of spills over into the next chapter too, which is the. Now that we know for sure, obviously you could have guessed that big handle sticking out from Loki's back when he was tied up was probably his main weapon. But now that he is actually grabbing it, and we find out that it is named Ragnir for I guess iron lightning or metal lightning or something.
Yeah.
And which is, of course, supposed to be reminiscent of Mjolnir, Thor's hammer. It does beg the question: like, is it boorish to ask why would they leave the weapon with him, or is this like a don't ask stupid questions? Like it's because it's cool. Like he needs to have his weapon to do something cool with it as soon as he gets free. What did you think of that?
Yeah. Let me see if I can Oda logic this.
Right.
I suppose you could make the argument that if they believe that, I think it was, correct me if I'm wrong, I am not rereading things. I'm not doing what I did in the past and trying to make sure all my T's are crossed, my I's are dotted when I'm reading everything. So I'm not going to remember it all perfectly. But Shanks is responsible for him being in this state.
Yes, Shanks brought
Okay.
him to heal, but we
Okay.
don't necessarily know if Shanks literally was
Put
the
the
person who
literally
tied
put
him
those
up.
chains around him.
Right,
Okay. All
right,
right. Okay. So I think if we believe that this is a if they're in the know that this is a weapon that can cause this kind of destruction, and that this kind of destruction is literally the weak point of the of their livelihoods of their entire nation,
right.
um, then perhaps they believed that that was Aete Gyakuni, the most safe location, because they believed that he was perfectly tied up and being held there. So,
Hmm.
in a sense, in order to get to that weapon, which is in some ways, perhaps ultimate weakness of their
Right.
entire nation,
Okay.
perhaps they believed that that was Gyakuni, the most safe
Right.
place to put it, because nobody's going to take it from him,
Yeah.
and he can't get to it in that position. So, if they believed
Hmm.
him to be secured there, and evidently he was,
Right. He was there
because
for
he wasn't
years.
getting out without
Yeah.
Luffy. Yeah, he certainly would have if he had the ability. Um, then yeah, that might have been the safest location for such a
Okay.
device.
I'll buy that. That sounds like a pretty rational reason for it. Uh, but it is probably the sort of thing that if someone doesn't say that in the story, it does seem like the sort of thing that he would probably answer in an SBS.
Hmm.
Maybe. But it does it does save us a little bit of trouble, since it is not it would not be the first time if the hammer was somewhere else and there had to be some sort of little mini quests to get the weapon. It would not be the first time. In fact, even just, hey, what was I just saying about Luffy and Zoro get the katanas?
Hmm.
So that would not be the first time that we had a little get the weapon thing, but
Yeah,
it
15
does.
years ago, I don't know if this would have been the case, right?
Sure, sure.
15
Yeah,
years ago, I think Oda would have had a subquest or something.
right, right. So
Or
maybe
like
the
when he gets free, he's like, wait,
circumstances.
wait until I get going, right?
Yeah, yeah. Um, but it does save us a little bit of time to get right to the point.
Gungnir? Gungnir? It's not Gungnir.
It's
Gungnir?
Ragnir.
Ragnar.
Yeah,
Sorry. I'm getting like Lance of Longinus and like everything confused.
yeah. It's interesting because he's done a lot. In addition to the all of the other sort of terminology and place names and things. I have been like checking quite regularly whenever he throws a new name or a new spelling for something at us, just to see if there is like a direct, because I do have some Old Norse, sort of dictionary sites on the speed dial, as it were, because I have had to use them before
That's
for.
right. You have extreme experience with this.
Yeah, and
Wow.
not even just for like Vinland Saga, but for other like sort of fantasy, 'cause since obviously a lot of this stuff is very popular in RPG culture, if you will, and so I have had to look up stuff like that, and I keep checking to see, like, okay, like for Ragnir, I'm looking for, like, okay, is there like, if I look up RAG, like, am I going to find, like, is this the root of something that means lightning or means iron or something like that? And no sign of it. So I do think that Oda is kind of going on vibes as far as as far as some of his distinctly unique spellings here. Like I haven't found a lot of direct Norse or Icelandic or other sort of, Norse related, since this is kind of the mythological backing, um, uh, etymology for some of his choices, which is a little. It's interesting. I mean, it means that I generally am just like, okay, well, what does it sound like? Let me just go based off the sound. But I kind of half expected to see more of that, like sort of direct dictionary reference. But so yeah, I don't know if he was picking on anything in particular when he came up with that name, or if he just wanted something that sounded like Mjolnir. So I guess that will put us on the most recent chapter, 1142. Our little summary here. Chaos erupts at the school as imaginary beasts attack. Saul and Principal Tusk, or Kiba, fight them off momentarily. The kids are sleepwalking along a suspicious arrow as more beasts arrive. Loki uses his conveniently placed hammer to smash Yggdrasil, blasting it with lightning that starts a fire. And Anjay describes the day's assignment of drawing the scariest thing imaginable. The monsters are right out of the kids' nightmares. So this one was very frenetic, I thought. There's a lot of back and forth.
Yeah.
Happening.
A lot of back and forth. As I put it after I first read it, I was like, this is Oda stepping on the accelerator. I have not seen him do a chapter like this in a traditional story arc. Story arc being, the crew comes to a mysterious island. There are events going on in the island. They get involved in the events. They solve the events, and then they go on to the next island. That being the traditional story arc, right? I don't know if I've seen a chapter where he just does as much as he moves everything forward as he does here in this single chapter. You have multiple fronts with advancements on each front. It is frenetic, as you say, but it makes sense. But I've never seen him work at this speed before. This traditionally, the contents covered in this chapter would probably cover 2 to 3 chapters. And it would be slow reveals for each little bit, like just finding out where the origin of these creatures are would have been like at least 2 to 3 chapters. But no, we get it all in a single one while having other developments as well. And that to me was impressive. It is a satisfying story for the week, but it also advances the story to a great amount, which is the first time I have to admit that I'm not sure if my prediction for 2 years for Elbaf will be correct. If he is going to continue that kind of pace, he might be able to do it in a much quicker time. This is like, especially with his breaks included, this is like a month of progress right here in this single chapter. So impressive. Okay, but on chapter title aside, first page, did you see the serpent, and were you like, okay, something's up?
Yeah. Well, I could see clearly from the texture, right? The screen tone is it's that ink style look that was probably markers that it immediately looked off.
He's got the Yunosuke look to him, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes. Which is unfortunate for longtime fans, because if you're a longtime fan, you're like instantly like, oh, that's bullshit. Like this is a fake. This is a fake thing.
Yeah.
There's no way that's real.
It's the little thing from Mad Max where he goes, no, that's bait. That's bait up there. Yeah.
Perfect. So yeah. But again, well played, Oda. Well played. I do like the fact that like that will definitely get some new fans. So that's cool. Saul coming in with a how did you translate this? That's hell.
Oh, this is good.
This is a hell attack.
Yeah.
How did you do this?
Okay, so I'm glad you mentioned this, because actually I did not, when we went over this on the podcast, I did not have the Japanese up in front of me, so I didn't explain the actual kanji for this. So yeah, it is Kimatsu Shiken is what he says, and the kanji are Ki is Oni, so ogre or demon, and Matsu is the kanji. It's used in a couple different ways, but it is one of it is sort of like mashed or smashed. Like it is the matsu is combined with cha to make matcha, for example. So that's why it's powdered, because it's all ground up. So it's kind of like ogre smashing. And then shiken is a tough one. She is like boy, it can mean a lot of different things, but it's like it's sort of like will or like intention or motivation or cause. And it's used in a lot of different compound words. And then ken is just fist. So obviously you put them together and you have something like ogre smashing, righteous fist sort of a thing. But when you say it out loud, kimatsu shiken in modern Japanese, that's like end of term finals, like a final test.
Yep.
So I actually, I'm curious. I wonder how you will react to this. I wasn't sure if I used the word final, if it would track immediately. Like if you didn't know that it was a school related joke, I wasn't sure if final would come off like a school test final, or if it would be some other version of final. So what I actually called it, and maybe I'll go back on this. Obviously there's room, there's wiggle room, but I called it midterm X slam. So instead of exam, I used slam. Yeah. So, and I did explain on the podcast for folks that it probably should be final exlam, but I just wasn't sure if that would parse, right immediately as a school related joke, because he is a teacher.
Oh
so
my God, that's so good.
It is a great attack name on Oda's part. Really,
Okay.
really fun.
Stephen,
What's up?
I forgive you for killing him.
Okay, great. Thank you. I'm glad I've redeemed myself.
Oh, that's so good. Please do final. That would be so. That's so great.
I think, yeah. See,
Final
and
exam.
the thing too is like it does, because it's like I was worried that it would sound like final rights or something like that. Like you wouldn't necessarily know it was a test, but also like that does sound cool too. Like because it is sort of like him. I mean, what is it? It's a cool sounding attack name that's like promising doom for the target of the attack. So, it's okay if it is a little dramatic sounding, but yeah, fun scene.
Where's that X-Men GIF? The perfection. Michael Fassbender thing.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
nice.
Oh, beautiful. Okay, so there's that going on. I was very curious how you do that. I had no idea how you're going to work around it, and you did it. You exceeded all expectations.
I will say, and I don't, I don't often toot my own horn, but I will say I did see a lot of people commenting that like that they thought that was a great name. Maybe that was just because like maybe the scanlation was not as good or something like that, and so people were confused by it. But I did get a lot of props on that, so I felt very, very accomplished.
Awesome. What do you think, Ragnar here? What do you think it does? Do you think it's a fruit? Do you think it's a pseudoscience thing? Does it
that's
like
a good question.
Does it like hearken Aner? Does it like hearken the Goro Goro fruit?
Right. That's right, because he had that, so they couldn't have the same power, literally. Oof.
Unless it was a like a smile situation where it's a double. I mean, we have not seen Logias that can do that, but either way, it would be interesting.
Yeah. I mean, because we don't even know. Like they did not. Did they even hint that this weapon existed before Loki pulls it out and uses it? like, you know, in the early chapters. I don't recall anything like that. So
I don't recall. He might have been drawn with it at some point, like in shadow form or
yeah.
something. Like I'm not that into it,
But
but
in terms of like background of like, oh, this, you know, he wields an ancient weapon that's been passed down through the kingdom for, you know, decades and generations, etc. So
yeah, I got nothing.
yeah. Um I don't know.
Hmm.
Although, you know, and again, like to tie it to the theme of the older woman stuff, like anything in Elbaf, just because of where we are in the story and kind of how Oda is revealing stuff, anything could have come from hundreds of years ago, and whatnot.
Yeah,
So, you know, the fact that like if it is possibly an artificial devil fruit, it doesn't necessarily mean it had to have been invented and given to him by Vegapunk. It could have been
that
older
was
than
yes.
that.
That is my. Sorry, I
Okay.
failed to mention that, but that is exactly what I intend there.
Gotcha.
Uh, you have the very end scene here, which is cool. If you go through Norse mythology, yes, you'll find origins for a lot of these things.
Mm-hmm.
That's a given. My absolute favorite was, without question, the mom. When the kid mentioned, when as soon
Yeah.
as you get the like the
Yeah.
Fukusen, the foreshadowing
The foreshadowing. Yeah.
of the kid being like my mom, which is hilarious, by the way. Um, uh, absolutely, I was like, there's totally going to be a mom, and I didn't know when he was going to do it, but out of the gates,
Yeah.
he's got her in there in the end. So great job.
Yeah.
Got some draggers and things. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
How did you interpret Summers' last line here? How did you do this? Because I have been super curious. I've intentionally not asked you about this.
Now, are you referring to the question to Gunko, or is it the love is?
Yes.
Yeah, that was a tough one, and the guys asked me that too. Let me make sure I know the exact wording that I used, because I was not sure. I gave him my opinion. What did I say? I said to know love is to wound one another, and I took it as whatever this game is, or this thing where, you know, that right now they're talking about a time limit, right? And the kids getting to the ship. I expected that it would factor into like whatever sort of moral quandary, you know, whatever kind of Saw like torture game they're setting up for the adults of Elbaf to try to do to save the kids, that it might play into that, like something about, you know, like the love that they have is going to wound them in the end or something like that. It's hard to say for sure. Did you have any thoughts or any, you know, connections that you drew?
Okay. Summers shows up wearing heart boxers.
Mm-hmm.
He's wearing a rose.
Mm-hmm.
He has a thorny hilt on his sword.
Mm.
And he's talking about love here.
Right.
And the gym teacher is saying, don't touch the kids. You can't touch them.
Right.
Right. Gunko is leading the children Pied Piper style.
Yes. Yeah.
They appear to be asleep via Killingham's power,
Yes.
which is hinted at the fact that he's constantly falling asleep.
Right.
And that also seems to be related to the dreams, which is probably his, I don't know, awakened ability, I'm guessing. Like making dreams real.
I see. I would have thought the dreams were Summers, but
okay.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, dreams and sleep they go together, so you could be right.
So here's my thing for Summers. I believe that he has rose abilities, and that the children are essentially roses, and that the more you love someone, the more you care for them. If you touch them, you will get stabbed. You will get thorns, essentially. So they're essentially untouchable. The more that you have a link to someone, the more that you have love for somebody, it's a hedgehog's dilemma, basically. Which thank you, Evangelion, for that. Right? The closer you get to someone, the more you will hurt. Maybe not each other in this case, but you'll hurt yourself. So I think that he set all of them up with thorns that will protrude when someone who loves them or has affection for them gets near. And if you have a very strong connection to someone, it's very possible that it could kill you, because this is just their gym teacher, right? I believe that's probably why he got injured, is he was trying to help them and he got hurt that way.
Interesting.
So and of course, the rose is the depiction of love. And he also had the heart boxers. And as you know, every rose has its thorn.
Yeah.
And I did look into it. I looked into some Poison pictures, and yes, he does bear a passing resemblance to the lead singer. His hair, the cross beard, maybe not so much. But yeah, dude definitely does have his hair tied back like that, and it's long flowing locks. So it's there. That's my summer story.
That's good though. Yeah, I had not put together the rose aspect to it, because he does, like, when you look at the gym teacher, like he looks like he got like prison shank, like he's got dots and spots all over his body. And I didn't really spend too much time thinking about how specifically did he get injured, because as I said, it's a very frenetic, like there's a lot of back and forth, and they're kind of constantly running, like they're inside and then they're outside and they're on the deck, and then we're moving somewhere else, and it's obviously by design to really sell the kind of the panic of the situation, of feeling, powerless, that stuff is happening and you don't even know what it is, much less how to stop it. And so that was one of those things where, like, I never really figured that out or had a bead on what specifically had happened to the teacher. But that would make a lot of sense if it was a physical, like literal thorns that poke him. So I have to be on the lookout for that then.
What would really be interesting is if it is true that, like, the more affection or the more feeling you have for someone, like the greater you get hurt.
Yeah, if it actually works that way. Yeah.
Yeah, because if they do that, if the crew eats that, then, like, how cool is that? Like, this guy is instantly super OP against them, because the crew cannot work together. They can't get close to each other. They can't connect. And how did it start? Is like when Luffy was like, "Oh man, this Gavin guy is really tough. Hey Zoro, let's team up." Okay,
right.
They can't do that. Which is would be a cool way to separate the crew. I don't know if that'll necessarily go down that way. It's fine just having the kids do that, but like, having people with strong connections and being able to use that against them, especially with the connection being stronger, the greater the damage that it would inflict. That's a very cool way to keep people separate.
Yeah. What did you make of the, I guess I don't know if they even stated it, but they did mention, of course, they are taking the kids back to Mary Jo. They don't say what they're going to do or why, but, I feel like there's some pretty short lines to be drawn between the concept of taking giant kids and some of the, sort of the background themes of the larger story, right? Of all the giant soldiers they've been looking for.
More gene therapy, gene extract. Oh, I say genes, but lineage.
The bloodline elements or whatever they.
Yes, the bloodline elements. That's right. Lineage factors, is that it?
Or that's one of them. I think bloodline elements was what I called them.
Oh, bloodline elements. Yeah. I got to start using that, because I've been using lineage factor just out of habit, and I have no idea where it came from. It was just one thing that I found, but like, okay, bloodline elements. I gotta use that in my articles now. But yeah, that seems to be the reason. In general, celestial dragons, as I got into last time, just seem to be what's more not gerbil, hamsters,
guinea pigs.
Guinea pigs. Thank you. They just seem to be guinea pigs for it. There's going to be a podcast where it's just Stephen helping me remember English words.
Well, the funny thing is you were searching, but you didn't say the one that the Japanese call it, which is mormot. That's what they call, a guinea pig is mormoto.
I snuck it in there. I was like,
okay.
It was under my breath. It was
okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's basically all they are. Why they're looking for? Well, why they're looking for it, I don't. If Im is stuck in Joy Boy's body, then why would he need all of this bloodline element therapy? Like, why would they need all of that? Do they want to create a weapon, or does he want a vessel for himself? Because theoretically, if he's in Joy Boy's body, then he should be able to create that himself, right? Unless Joy Boy lost the ability to do so. Is there a way to lose devil fruit abilities? And if so, is that why they're trying to create it? Because if he can transfer his consciousness, are they trying to create the perfect vessel for him? Obviously, they want gigantification, giantism. That seems to be what they're going for, is this kind of breeding things that they want. And I hope it does come back at some point. We see the Punk Hazard frozen criminals, the people frozen in the room. Like, we see what all that was for. I mean, like you said, short lines. You can draw all the connections, but like, it would be nice if he did bring all that together for some reason. Any way you look at it, it's a pretty grim prospect. The only long distance thing that I see here, and the big problem is, and this is actually what I just finished writing about. I wrote about Scopper for a Shueisha article, and it was okay. They want giant kids. Did they necessarily know that one of those kids is a half child or a half giant, half human son of one of the Pirate King's right hand men?
Yeah.
Do they know what they're tapping into there? Like, what force they're going to unleash? Should they mess with Koron?
Yeah.
That's going to be quite the showdown if they do that. He is going to be pissed.
Yeah. I mean, there's open questions as to like how retired is Gibbon here? Like, is it, will he ride back into battle like full tilt for something like that? I mean, you would hope so, given that we're talking about his family and we don't see any reason to doubt that he's dedicated to them. But it has been kind of a theme of the folks from the older generation kind of turning Luffy down and saying, no, I'm done. I'm retired. I'm not doing the adventure thing anymore.
Yeah.
It's also interesting. This is a little bit of a tangent, but like that, I don't feel like, I don't believe that Oda has differentiated in any way Koron from the rest of the kids. Like, he doesn't seem like he's smaller than the other giant children.
He does not seem to be.
No. Which I'm not sure if there's a specific reason for that, or if Oda just didn't want to, to do the kind of play the averages down the middle, sort of like small plus large equals medium sort of thing. But I thought that was interesting that you can't necessarily tell him apart.
I think that we're going to find out that that's kind of one of the Uratema for the arc, by the way, is that what does it, because there've been multiple times now. I mean, it's kind of like, oh, duh. Like he's been throwing it up there several times, but it just started to connect with me with Conan's existence kind of coming to the forefront here, as being put in danger. But like, he seems to be dealing with what it means to be biracial, in a society that's closed, essentially,
right.
Which seems to be kind of like his family theme for the arc, if you will, if you can. I mean, there are multiple hidden themes, but this one from family theme seems to be that, because being biracial in Japan is kind of a big deal that nobody talks about. You're a very unique individual within the society, and how you are handled and how you're accepted is based entirely upon how you look. If you look more Japanese, people will assume that you are just Japanese and treat you very much like that. If you look different, then you will be asked like, oh, how long have you lived in Japan? Or, oh, your Japanese is so good, and you've lived there your entire life.
Right.
I'm not trying to paint like some hellscape. It's not, but like it is a sensitive and an important topic. And I think he might be touching upon that, especially with the whole Loki and Hyrule thing. And we also have Road, who brings that directly to the forefront. Like, why is Road this kind of like weird character who was otaku, and like he was bullied, so like he has a reason to hold some of these strange views, but like why do we want to side with him? What, like where is he coming from? It's like because that's a lot of the people that live in Japan. They have these similar views about outsides and not outsides, and what does it mean to have half blood? And like Hyrule, if I remember correctly, he was ridiculed for being half.
Hyrule?
Was he considered like not viable for the throne?
Oh yeah, what was the? I forget what the thing that he said was, because he was Hyrule was considered kind of the bastard son, right? He was the son from the not the queen or whoever. I don't remember if there was a detail that like she was from a different clan of giants or different country of giants.
Okay.
Or not. I wish I could remember.
I thought there was something about there, and that's like why he wouldn't be viable, but Loki would. But like I think that's what he's going for in the arc, is like, what does it mean to be biracial? And how can society accept him? Of course, there are many hidden themes here. You also have the question of armament, which I think is a big question among fans right now. Is he for armament? Is he for disarmament? I would be interested if he took a third route, which is it's not pro or anti, but like what do we need to do to make our society better? How can we have a happy medium where we can protect ourselves and be a happy society, but also live in peace? Like what can we do to make that happen? If you can answer that question, then like that would make for a compelling story, rather than like this good, this bad. I am very interested to see how he'll address that.
I picked up on that pretty quickly, when he started talking about that topic of, are we really warriors anymore? Like how have things changed, whatever. Okay, I did find, yes, it was Hyruden's mother was from a different giant nation.
Right. Okay.
So yeah.
All right.
And that was why, Nami was like, why are you with him if you think that, it's not right for him to lead this nation or whatever. Then it goes into the personal connection that they have. So, yeah.
Oh, which means that what's his name has some high giant blood. I'm sorry, this is just popping in my head. But Who's Nya? Who's the Nya Blackbeard guy? I always forget his name.
Oh,
Not Mayo.
Avalo Pizarro.
Avalo Pizarro. If that isn't just a decoration that he's wearing, he has some ancient blood in him. Ancient giant blood. Interesting. Okay. Or I don't know, maybe he's some obscure fish that I don't know that has horns, right? Oda can always pull that.
Yes,
bullshit.
He can do that.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I see that people have taken to calling Nika Black Nika, which is weird to me.
Like the original, the one that we see depicted.
That's Nika.
So many times.
Yeah, like to me, that's Nika. Like right. Luffy is the interpretation. Like
yes, Luffy is the white Nika. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Also, what's going? Is Nika? Are his eyes just obscured, or is he a Cyclops? What's going on there? Do you know what I'm talking about? This Nika in the end.
Yeah. The one being drawn. I don't know. We were talking about that, and some of the other like details, like the details of the one who appears to be Loki, maybe. Who is has like the two is the sword and the hammer, and I feel like the kids, because the topic was coming up of like, well, did they like this Loki has a big like a big reddish looking beard, so did Loki have a big beard before that, and that's when they saw that, and I was kind of thinking, I don't think they probably have ever seen Loki, or if they have, it was a long time ago, and so I think that these are just, I mean, they are literally, it's an exercise in imagination, right? They're supposed to be drawing the thing that scares them most, so they don't necessarily have like the strongest mental image of what that thing is, and that's what makes it more scary. So yeah, I don't know, the Nika in the drawing Nika here kind of looks like, I was comparing him to like one of the Muppets or something. Like he's got
the same vibe that I got.
Okay, all right. I'm glad we're on the same page then. Yeah, with the obscured eyes and the kind of weird oval nose, it does look very Muppet-ish. But I wouldn't necessarily take any of the details too literally as far as like how Nika actually appeared, just because
exactly Oda's not going to reveal it here.
No,
this
not this
way.
way.
This is not.
Right.
Yeah, no. That's classic Oda. So
yeah.
All right. Also, these things are fuck off huge.
Oh yeah.
My God, the giants are like in distant. The giants are tiny to them.
Yes.
What the hell?
That's fun.
I think that'll do it for the chapter for me.
Yeah.
We can go into minutia for eternity, but those are the big points.
All right. Yeah. I mean, yes, there's probably a few more things we could discuss, but I think we have some questions that have our names on them. So why don't we wrap this one up?
Do we have, let me just ask, I have to be thorough here. Do we have any voicemail or voice messages? Because a friend was actually mentioning that, like, are you going to be on SBS or SGS? And I was like, yep, got it. And he's like, I might leave a voice message. And I was just like, Zach will probably spit out his coffee. But...
Yeah. We did get a couple. I feel like the majority of voicemails that we've gotten over the years are either Alex or Steve just like doing a bit and pretending to be someone else. So I don't know, but yeah, Zach has been checking. I think the deadline that they're going to shut down the voicemail, the Skype voicemail thing in like May or something like that. So he has been checking, but he would have to download that and share that for us to hear it. So,
well, Disruptive, if you're out there, you're listening, then you got until May.
Okay. All right. We'll look forward to that. But for now, let's answer some questions. This is the SGS segment where we answer all of your burning questions. And You are free, of course, to send pretty much anything. Let's keep it family friendly, But the first segment we will go to, and the best and most reliable way, if you are a Patreon member, and you get on our Discord, and you get you use your Patreon link or whatever, or show your proof of purchase, whatnot. You can get access to our Patreon section, and there is an SGS channel specifically for Asking Us, as well as a Dispiece channel for regular podcast episodes. So we'll start with that, with SNP, who says, "Hi, Stephen, Greg, and Simba. This is a very early question. So this was submitted like within a week of our last episode, so it's a few weeks old now. This is a very early question.
It's aged. It's aged.
Or maybe fun fact, like a good cheese. As we already know, Rayleigh's epithet is Dark King, Meo. You two probably already know the original Japanese was meant to provoke, or I guess to associate with Hades, the god of the dead / king of the underworld in Greek mythology. So I was wondering, does Gabon's epithet, Mountain Eater, Yamagudai, mean anything else too in the original Japanese? And I found out that Yama is the god of death and justice in Hinduism. What do you think about that? Is it an intentional move that both the right and left hand of Gold D. Roger have something related to death in their epithet, or was that just a coincidence? Interesting. So Yama, instead of being mountain, being the Yama. I guess is Yama. Is that Enma? Is that is the Enma the Japanese version of Yama? I'm trying to.
I would have to assume so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because is that why they called him King Yama in the early Dragon Ball Z dub?
Oh, did they call him that in the?
Yeah.
Okay, then it must be.
Which is an oddly accurate translation for the ocean dub.
For the ocean dub.
Jesus.
That's fun.
And if you know what that sentence just meant that I said, like, congratulations, you're older than most things. That's an interesting question, because you can't totally deny the fact that Sanji is unrelated to hell, because he has the Ifrit, right? Like, he's got the fire.
The Diablo. Diablo.
Yes. Yeah. But that just got me thinking, is that can the two of them be related to something that is fiery? Because he mentions that he's, about passion, and he's got all this passion in himself.
Right.
Which is why I think that it's going to come out for his son, right? Like whoever messes with his son, like you're fucked. But Mountain Eater, you could make the argument that what else would eat a mountain other than fire? And you would have Yamakaji, which is, there is an actual Yamakaji character, right, in the show.
He was
the Chujo, right?
Yes, I was going to say he sounds like a vice admiral character.
Yes, he's vice admiral.
Was he the one who was like smoking the cigars? Am I thinking?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Still got
he's like the Popeye, the Bluto.
Yeah.
Character.
Yeah. Very beefy looking.
But you could make the argument that what eats a mountain other than a fire? I guess you could make that connection. And maybe we'll learn more as we see, how passionate he can be, because, Oda seems to do that, like a burning passion seems to be his shtick. Plus, if he does have that scar on his face, right? That looks like a flame. That could be the burn scar.
Bit. Yes, I know that there have been some speculative comments to that nature.
It's not a burned. It's not a scar that came from a burn, but a scar that looks like a burn.
Yeah.
Right. You could make that argument as well. And that is something that I think Oda would do on purpose. With flame at least being connected to the, like one being literally a lord of hell, and then the other being flame, I think he would go to that extent.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it would mean some, like stuff that that he's been doing. That he's, riding around on a big black ship, and he's got the whirlpools and whatever else that people associate with that character, which we have not seen tied directly to Gibbon, but that doesn't mean that those aren't the same character. It just means that Oda is saving that reveal, that connection reveal, until later. But I don't know. I'm leaning away from that, but I certainly cannot rule it out for sure.
Interesting thought. I've been trying to draw a connection between the two because the right hand seemed to have such a strong theme.
Mm-hmm.
But that's interesting. It could be, I don't know about Lord of Hell, but you could definitely draw a flame connection at this point.
I wonder too. Maybe I'm just thinking of like what the what he did with all of the Atamayama stuff, like the head that's a mountain. There were a lot of references to that in Wano, and that was all from like a Rakugo story. So sometimes when you see like kind of distinctive phrases like this, I am not speaking from a position of knowledge here, but just sometimes when I see that, it sets off that, like, I wonder if Oda is just referring to like a Rakugo story of some kind. Like, he's making a fun little obscure reference that he enjoys that, maybe not, everyone will pick up on, but that he wants to put in there as a fun little reference. But
like Fujimori.
Like Fujimori. All right, we'll move on to King Doji, who has these are some good questions, actually, just on the topic of Japanese stuff. King Doji says, hello, very special guests. My questions are questions that got missed on Dispiece proper because of either a way too long episode or Steven was simply not there. So here they are. Question 1. The children of Elbaf a few chapters ago were saying words that were misspelled. I've seen this before in Spy Family, where Anya says that she goes for family outings instead of outings, and I'm sure it comes up with other kid characters. How is this represented in Japanese? So I have not read Spy Family, but I do believe that in Japanese, just for Greg's reference here, it's that they go out for odekake, which is
Odekeke.
Odekeke. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so you do know.
She's odekeke.
Mm-hmm.
It's super cute.
They spell
it's
that
adorable.
Outings instead of outings in the English version. So I don't remember which specific scene it is that the kids are doing. I think it was during all of the scenes about being a warrior, or using violence, or like saying bad words and stuff like that, when the kids were really like harping on each other about that stuff. And so I had a lot of them kind of misspelling the words. So usually what happens there is that Oda he's having them say words, maybe words that are a little more complicated, like they sound like grown-up words. And what happens in Japanese is when you're writing out normal sentences, you use a fair number of kanji with them. And this is one of those things where I know when people are like Japanese 101 students, they always end up with that question. It's like, do I really need to know the kanji? Can't I just use hiragana? And what you end up with when you finally learn enough about Japanese, you realize, oh no, you have to have the kanji, because if you don't have kanji, it's fucking impossible to tell sometimes like what people are saying. It's so hard to read without kanji. And because there are so many homophones, there's so many words that sound similar, but can be written with different kanji. And once you know all the kanji, then it's very easy to figure out, even if you haven't seen this word before, it's often easy to figure out what it means just from looking at the kanji. So what happens there is Oda is going to be writing them in hiragana, which basically says, if you don't remember what we've talked about for years about like the Pirates of the Sun, for example, that it's written in hiragana. The sun is written in hiragana rather than kanji, and
katakana
or katakana. Sorry, yes, you're right.
Yep.
And Oda himself explained in an SBS that, like, yes, they explicitly do that because they don't fully understand the sun. It's not a lived experience that they know and understand. They've heard of the sun. They know what the sun is, but they don't really know what the sun is and how it feels to have it, beating on your skin every day, and the way that it gets hot and it gets cold, and all the the different aspects of life with the sun. And so to them, it is somewhat of a foreign concept. And so it's a similar thing here with the kids, is when they're saying some kind of complicated word, if it's just written out in hiragana, it means that they're repeating it because they've heard it before, but they might not like really know what they're talking about. And so my way of handling that is to have them misspelled. So, you kind of, again, you get the same sense that like they don't really know what this is, but they're talking about it anyways. And it's a nice thing that English and Japanese can kind of do the same thing with the way that their writing systems work. I'm not sure how other languages do it, but that's kind of my general go-to when I see that happen.
So one of our gripes at work is a constant thing that we deal with over here is people assuming that we can't understand Japanese when we work with the first time we work with somebody new,
right?
And like, to be kind to us and to be accommodating to these foreigners who couldn't possibly know our difficult language, they will send us emails written entirely in hiragana.
Oh no.
And they're just so removed. They're so out of it that they think that hiragana equals like simplicity and easy. It is the exact opposite.
Yeah.
You get an email. It's a wall of hiragana, and it's absolutely fucking impossible to. I mean, it's not impossible. Yeah. Okay, if you spend enough time with it, yes, you can read it. But like, it's an exorbitant. It is far more difficult to read an email entirely in hiragana than it ever is using kanji.
It's got to be like if you've never seen cursive before, and then someone hands you this really flowery cursive script, and you're like, I think I know what this is saying, but like, God, it takes so much brain power to figure it all out. Man,
it's like maybe it's like a more recent version of Old English. Like if someone sent you an email in Old English, you'd be like, yeah, I got a the, and I got a me, and a chicken. But I also got an octopus in there. Not sure how that got it. Yeah, that's that hell. Good question.
That's rough. Yeah. And the excuse me. The other question is the abyss. And this is good because we didn't talk about this. Is the abyss that Killingham mentions in 1140 the same abyss that showed up in the Harley? Was it the second world void, the third world emptiness, or something else entirely? Okay, so this is interesting because I don't think anyone else asked this or made this made a connection between these two things. But the abyss, the term abyss, came from Oda. So yeah, obviously, you can tell from the context of the dialogue in the chapter that abyss in the story refers to that pentagram pattern, the five-sided star that both the five elders and now the other holy knights here have been summoned through, and that is written along with the kanji that means five-sided star or pentagram. It is written with the katakana abisu. So it is, that word comes from Oda. It is not, so all the stuff about the void and the emptiness and whatnot in the Harley does not have anything to do with the word abyss here. And I don't think I didn't use abyss in the translation of the Harley and the mural and all that stuff that we talked about. So they're totally separate. But it is interesting that, that is another synonym of, that concept.
If you were able to send actually a craftsman through it, while they were traveling, if they were able to create something, I guess you could say it was made in Abyss.
Oh, God, I was like, where is he going with this? Where is he going? Yeah. So yeah, I guess the short answer is that there's no connection, but it is an interesting choice of terminology on Oda's part. I mean, it makes me think of like a shadowy tunnel, right? Like you think of an abyss, it's like a deep depth or something, and who knows where they're passing through when they come out of the other end, but it's a fun word association, I guess. We'll move on then to Felix Cutler, our friend who says, "Hi SGS, another quick fire round." Okay, so we have another something versus something.
Oh man!
And he says, "Remember, don't take it seriously. Don't take it seriously, Greg." Okay, lions versus tigers.
Tigers.
Yeah, he capitalized both of them, so you could interpret that as like sports teams, for example. And so I would say, because the Tigers are the baseball team, and I like baseball more than football, I will also say Tigers. Next one, Final Destination versus Scream.
I have never seen either one.
Oh my God.
So let's say Scream.
Okay. I don't know
because
if I
Drew
ever...
Barrymore.
Yeah. I saw Scream. I don't remember if I ever saw Final Destination, but I saw, I remember all the jokes about it because it was a very silly movie. But yeah, I'll say Scream too. Okay. Watching movies in silence or watching movies and talking?
Depends on the audience.
Yeah, I would not talk in the theater, but at home, yeah, I'm fine with talking.
Yeah, at home, like in silence, gyaku ni kimochi warui, right?
A little awkward, yeah, very tense.
Yeah. I need more context. In your next round, I cannot answer that question.
Okay. Podcast versus radio.
Is there a difference now?
Oof.
I would say, just for clarity. Oh, okay. I think I see. Like listening to radio programming versus podcast programming,
Sure.
Like downloading a podcast and listening to it. Oh, that is good. Nowadays, radio is simple, but podcast is way easier to listen to.
Yeah, I definitely listen to podcasts way more than radio, so I'll go podcast. He says series versus movies. I'm guessing this is TV series versus movies, and he does include in parentheses, what do you enjoy more? So there you go. There you have a direction for that.
I don't know if I can answer that. It depends. Okay, it has to be. I can only answer this based on volume. There is no more one than the other. It's just what has been more entertaining for me by volume recently, and I guess it would have to be series.
I feel like I'm going back the other way now. Like, just give me a movie and I can be done with it after 2 or 3 hours.
I agree, but it has to be that entertaining for me. And I don't know many movies that I can think about. Like, have you ever thought about this? Like the movies that you watched as a kid, or like the first time you experienced a kind of story. Like,
yes.
I remember them vividly. And now when I see a movie, it's just like consuming media. And it's just like, just something to kill time. Whereas a series is I actually have to sit down and think about it and think about the connections to characters if I enjoy it. And that's why I've also become like such super snobby with my series. But like, by volume, I enjoy them more now than movies.
Okay.
Just because of pure enjoyment of the medium.
Football versus soccer, in parentheses, what's the correct word?
I have no pride as an American in that respect, so I will say football.
Oh, okay. See, I would have thought...
The majority of the world agrees.
Yeah, the majority of the world agrees, but Japan and America are like the two countries that actually call it soccer, so I'll just say soccer. And last one, apples or pears?
Pears.
Oh, for me, this is easy, apples.
Yeah?
I like it. I enjoy many kinds of apples, not as many kinds of pears.
I enjoy many kinds of apples and many kinds of pears. I think the best kind of pear is probably better than my favorite apple.
Ooh, okay.
If you placed them both in front of me, I would choose the pear before the apple.
All right.
But I like apple confectionaries way more. So like not even.
Oh yeah.
Oh, but apple tarts are really good. Okay, all right. Fuck it. I don't think seriously, Craig. Don't think seriously.
All right, moving on to Big Mike, who says, at the end of the series, when the Straw Hats leave Laugh Tale and Luffy disbands the crew, will Buggy end up on Laugh Tale, find the One Piece, and get the credit for defeating the Straw Hat and becoming the Pirate King? And then will he have to deal with the negative consequences of getting chased by the Marines, get executed, and start the next age of pirates while the Straw Hats live free for the rest of their lives? Boy, that's some wicked karma for Buggy.
That's pretty cruel. He'd get both sides, right? He'd get the Marines and probably Croc and Mihawk would be pissed at him too, right?
Yeah.
Let's just say I don't see that happening. But I don't want to say no forever because nothing is impossible in One Piece at this point. So,
yeah, I don't know about that specific scenario, but the pattern is really established at this point that Buggy continues to fail upward and get credit for things that he probably doesn't deserve. So I certainly can't rule it out. The opportunity is right there for Oda to do something along those lines. Next is Wisdom Pythagoras, who says, "Hey, SGS, been a while. Hope all is well. What do you think about the idea of the devil fruit held by the royal family of Elbaf to be Ragnir itself? It would simplify a lot surrounding the idea of the fruit being passed down across generations. I think back when the fruit was first described to have been taken by Loki in chapter 1130, it was said to have been eaten, but I was unsure if there was room for ambiguity there in the original text." Actually, I don't remember this at all. So have we been just like completely forgetting some big detail that I have forgotten?
I'm on board with this line of thought. I don't know if there's a particular line or a particular detail that you could twist this way, but I want there to be some sort of twist with the fruit. Like he is in possession of it, but he didn't necessarily eat it yet, or he's in possession of it, but it's a object that quote unquote ate a fruit, right? Like something like that. I want there to be something of that nature. With each chapter, it seems increasingly unlikely that is the case. But I don't think there's anything that makes it impossible yet. Simply because we are to believe that Sea Stone is incredibly resilient and incredibly tough. So he couldn't just, even if he didn't have a devil fruit per se, he couldn't just work his way out of it. But we do know that he is lying and that he does deceive. He's being classic Loki, in other words.
Right.
So it is possible that he has not, I think it is possible that he has not eaten a fruit and he was simply held in place by the strength of the Sea Stone. I think that is still viable.
So I'm looking here. So I completely forgot. This is what happens when, the series comes out at the schedule that it does. And, we get distracted with other, very juicy morsels to pick over. Okay. So this was the line from 1130, which I had forgotten. His desperate desire, it's talking about Loki, his desperate desire for a legendary devil fruit passed down through the Elbaf royal line led him to kill his father, King Harold, and eat the fruit. So yeah, unless again, that's also like
and who said that?
Right. It's just a rando giant.
Yeah.
So that could be just a story that they've decided is the truth, but we will find out more.
We already know they have bogus information about what went down that day.
Yes.
So yeah, it's still viable at this point. If we find out the moment that we find out that he is actually weakened by the sea stone, and he's not just putting on a facade, then that will be the case. That he has indeed eaten the fruit and he has that power.
Mm-hmm. All right. Last question on the Discord here is from SNP. So we may have already answered this one, actually. Hello, Greg, Stephen, Greg, and Simba. So for Stephen, can you talk about Killingham's name? The name seems to refer to Kirin/Chilin, but you decided to use killing instead. Is this meant to be a killing pun? I sent the question for this piece that week, but you were off, so I thought of sending it now. So yeah, I think I did cover kind of my thought process on that when we were talking about that in the recap. So hopefully that answered your question already.
We need like a psychic award when we answer SGS questions in the episode proper. We need some sort of like symbol or ringing or buzz or sound effect that like we psychically answered your question in advance.
Yeah.
we Kembun Shoku'd your question.
Yeah. So we do have some other questions on social media, and I will go through. I will look for the hashtag SGS Sensei. That's all one word, no dash in there. On both Twitter and Blue Sky. So I will start here. We do have a couple from a longtime listener, Emil Nordpol at .bsky.social, who says, "Dear SGS Sensei, what are the odds that we get lots of behind-the-scenes info from Oda as soon as the series is finished?" I guess it depends on what kind of info you're thinking of, but I mean,
like, I think what Emil's going for here is probably like sketches and like, how far in advance did you create or did you intend this to be a thing? How far in advance was Luffy actually going to have eaten the Nika fruit, etc., etc.? I'm guessing that's what you're kind of immediately after the series finishes. Which version of the series? Because we have now 1, 2, 3. We'll have 4 versions of the series going. I don't know how long the live action will last, but there's that. There's of course the manga. Then you have the Toei animation, and then there's the Netflix animation.
The One Piece,
yeah, which is coming down the pike. Now, obviously, both Netflix adaptations. There's no indication that those absolutely will go to the end of the series, the manga material. Toei will absolutely, certainly, without question, go to the end of the manga material.
Yeah.
But until all of those stories, we'll get something, right? It'll be similar to which one was it? We got the full reveal, right, of the cast drawn as they were intended to after Jinbei joined, right? Like we got that.
Right.
Oh, we actually cut out Jinbei from the cast picture.
Yeah, that sketch of the original.
From the early sketch. And then after, it was, what was it famously? I think it was Blue Deep or Green. It was in green, and they physically cut it out.
Yes.
Of green.
There was a very obvious space over one of their shoulders. Yeah.
Yes. I think we'll get a number of details, but you have to consider from a advertising standpoint, they still need to retain a lot of that mystery until one, the series is over in all of its forms, and 2, it's just until we get the sequel series or the continue series or whatever happens in the future, and it probably inevitably happen at this point, just because it is so large. if you read my 90-page thesis, you can get some of my ideas on how that will go. It doesn't necessarily need to be about the Straw Hats, but they need to retain some of that mystery so they can kind of dole it out over the years before that starts. So there's some sort of commercial gain for them.
Mm-hmm.
So after it ends, yes, I'm sure there will be a small spurt, but probably not as much as people might hope for. Just because it doesn't seem realistic from their perspective to put it all out there.
Yeah, and if there was going to be something larger, I agree. I don't think it would be as soon as the series is finished. I don't think they would set up like a whole clearinghouse of like, flood the zone with all of the behind the scenes secrets and the things you didn't know were going to happen and blah blah blah. I think that Oda he certainly, despite his famous kind of refusal to let his pictures be shown. He's obviously over the years, been very comfortable with doing interviews and, being on TV and things like that. So I don't think he's going to be a recluse and, just sort of shut out the rest of the world. I think he would certainly be forthcoming about some of that stuff, but it also depends on, I guess, how he feels about it. If he thinks it's interesting to share, or if some of the potential secrets and, maybe second guessing or ideas that he had that he didn't end up using. Maybe he decides like, well, I don't really want to admit that I thought about this, or maybe I don't want people to think, oh, this would have been better than what Oda actually drew or something like that. He might have reasons for not wanting to share every little thing that he potentially could. But I do think that he would help them put together some kind of, sketchbook and stuff like that of interesting tidbits from behind the scenes.
Yep. Completely
something
agree.
to look forward to. All right. Next question from Sanadachi's Inherited Will at OPP got me into bsky.bsky.social. Dear OPP Sensei, oh no. Whenever I see Gerd or Ripley, the first thought that pops into my head is, wow, I can just walk underneath them and look up their skirts. Please help me, OPP. Hashtag SGS Sensei. This has 2 likes. Who is liking this comment?
No comment.
Yeah.
I cannot safely respond to that.
Please seek help. We'll move on. Sean Griffith at .bsky.social says, hi, SGS Sensei. In One Piece chapter 1138, before the mural reveal, Ripley says, maybe that simply means this was nothing more than a child's dream. This line really stuck with me. Could this be a meta reference on the overall story of One Piece itself being dreamed up by Oda in his childhood? I mean, I think that's a fun lens to interpret it. Obviously, it does. I think we talked, I feel like if you went back and listened to the episodes, we definitely commented on the sort of meta nature. What is it? Oh God, what is it? Saint Elsewhere? Is that the TV show that had the infamous
the snow globe?
The snow globe ending, yeah, where it was all in the hospitalized kids sort of fantasies or something.
Yes. Yeah. Or perhaps far worse, what is it? They wake up and it's in the shower. What is that famous one? You know what I'm referring to, right?
I'm not sure.
They lampoon it in Family Guy, I think.
Oh God.
It was like one show was a spin-off of another show, and like in the final episode, it was the dream of one of the characters from the original show. Yeah.
Geez.
Empty Nest, was it? I don't know. But that is a completely valid. I think that's something that carries through, right? Because if you know One Piece and you know Oda, then you know that yes, he's been dreaming this story up, this fantastic world and these characters up since he was in middle school. So, yeah, you could view it that way. I agree. That's valid. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's clever.
Nice. All right. Our last, I'll go over to Twitter. We do have one on Twitter from B at Champagne Bala, who, as always, has a bit of a list of short questions here. Let's see. Why was Kuro's escape in the live action? I don't know if that's something, that could be like a writer's room sort of a thing that.
I think we got this question before.
Mm.
And I think, okay, let me pull back the curtain a little bit.
Okay.
I think we got this question previously, and I believe I did answer it in detail.
And then you decided, you know what, this is maybe a little too much detail.
Yes.
Okay.
So let me just, because I don't want to disappoint you, because I know you went through the trouble to send in the question.
Right.
And I think it was like an 11th hour call. And I think I was like, I'm good with this. I'm fine with this. And the last one I was like, you know what? Maybe not. I did answer your question. I know the exact answer to your question. Unfortunately, it would not be responsible for me to answer that question. There's a very good reason for it. And personally, on a personal level, I think it's a really cool reason. I would love to talk about it, but I'm not like some people who work on the live action, so I'm not going to put anything out there that I shouldn't. I don't want to point any fingers at anybody out there. But yeah,
I will back up Greg here, and say that it was not like some kind of incredibly salacious and like, oh my God, I can't believe he said that. It's not that Greg is like keeping some very juicy secret. I think, it's, as he says, sometimes it's just, this was stuff that was not really necessarily meant for the public to know. And if it was, then, we would have explained it or come out with it. Someone else would have said it. But Greg doesn't need to be the one to break the sanctity of the writer's room.
If we ever meet in public, and you still have that question, I'd be happy to let you know.
There you go. All right. Most likely next arc to go to PI, I can see that's Pirate Island, and fight 3-way against Blackbeard and Cross Guild. So question mark. So I guess the question is the most likely next arc to go from Elbaf to Pirate Island and engage in a 3-way pirate war?
Depends how far these these holy knights get with their plan. Because depending on whether they succeed or not, there is viable reason for them to try and follow them back to Marijoa.
Interesting.
I always come back to Stephen's very adept use of Osamu Tezuka's description of a story like a tree branching out. And that it must always be moving upward and forward. It can go to the side, but it cannot go back. And going back would be a big issue for the series, because we do have this forward momentum, forward. It's constantly been covering ground where they've been. There's been some to the sides, of course, but always forward. For them to go back to Marijoa is a big deal from a lot of perspective, from a narrative perspective, from the storyteller's perspective. They'd have to have a very good reason to do so, because it's a long way back. But there is also the question of, at that point in the story, will they have a medium that allows them to travel faster and further with fewer consequences, and can they still continue forward after that? With considering all of those factors, are they more likely to go back to Marijoa if the plan is successful to steal children, or are they more likely to go forward from this point? I cannot answer that question. I do believe that their journey will take them to the other side of Red Line that they have not been to yet, but the New World side of Reverse Mountain, I should say. But I don't know when or if they can go back to Marijoa reasonably, to have it make sense in the story for them to continue moving forward. Because what if they go back and they finish everything they need to do at Marijoa? Then can they go forward from that point? I don't really know. There are a couple major question marks in the series. I can see where the series needs to go to finish. But even at this point in Elbaf, I don't know. Marijoa is the big question mark. Like, do the Straw Hats go there or not? If they do, that changes a lot. I don't know what your feelings are this, Stephen. I know I seem like I'm rambling, but it's like also like I am totally Charlie Daying the threads on the board here. Yeah.
I mean, to me, it's also like, does a conclusive or otherwise, like sort of like taking care of all the business in Marijoa arc, for lack of a better word, is that the Straw Hats or is that the revolutionaries? Like, in other words, does Sabo and Dragon in them, do they like try to settle a score with Imu and the senior management? And is that like part one where then Imu, transitions, goes to Laugh Tale or something, or wherever, a final, Luffy confrontation would happen? Is that like a 2-part sort of thing? Cause I do agree. I still do think it doesn't necessarily add up unless they do go past and they well, no, cause they just went past Marijoa. So they wouldn't hit it at the end of the end of the Grand Line. I don't really see the Straw Hats doing that necessarily. But we have, as I said,
tough, right?
We have a lot of players. We have several different factions that could end up on a collision course in Marijoa. So I know
the question was about Pirate Island,
right.
but like that, it's before we talk about Pirate Island. I think we need to talk about that, like how that will be handled. I'm in agreement with Stephen. And I don't think they can go there, but you just never know.
And as you
said,
especially
with travel becoming easier in the Abyss, like that is just teleport power. Come on.
As you were saying, the especially in the most recent chapter, the pacing of moving the story forward was very quick by Oda's standards. So, he might be getting through this arc faster than we realize. It just depends on what else he has in store for us as far as the plot goes. Okay, next question. What's the best time to get an Emu reveal, and what do you think they look like? Ooh.
I'll go with my current without very much thought on this, because if I try to think this out, then we're going to be here until the next SGS. So I'll just go what I brought up with last time, is that currently I think it's a good bet that Emu inhabits Joy Boy's body. Currently, that is my best idea.
And if I'm offering an alternative that does not hinge on the sort of the body possession angle, I think that Emu can only be one of two things. They have to be either incredibly beautiful or absolutely hideous. Like, they have to be either like a 800-year-old monstrosity that you would be like, oh God, bring back the black silhouette. Like, I don't want to see this person anymore because he looks like such a freak. Or they're going to be revealed to have some kind of otherworldly beauty or something, or some kind of almost alien-like with the giant eyes and whatnot.
Blackbeard gets to be our big pirate boss, right?
Right.
But Emu gets to be the Zorro of bosses, if that makes any sense. You know what I mean? Zorro is everything that is cool and badass.
Okay.
That Oda cannot portray through Luffy.
Gotcha.
Right? Mm-hmm. He is the that's the word I'm looking for, edgelord. Zoro is the edgelord that Luffy can never be.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Because Oda absolutely downright refuses to make his main character the edgelord.
Right.
Look at Blackbeard. He's a fucking goof. Like he looks, and I'm sure he's gonna look terrifying with his whole powers and everything. He'll make him look great and terrifying. That's awesome. I like that. But like, Steven is absolutely accurate in that, like, whatever Oda wants to make his last boss look like how cool or how badass or how scary or how like you said, like otherworldly beautiful, everything he wants to make in a classic last boss is going to be in Emu. So we'll see it to whatever extreme it is. It's going to be an Oda extreme. Yes, I completely agree with Steven that Joy Boy or not, like that vessel that he is in right now, whether it's his original body or somebody else's body, will be an extreme.
Yeah, because you can't keep someone, behind the Wizard of Oz curtain for this long and not have like a very compelling answer. I think, it has to be interesting at the very, very least. Otherwise, you're going to be like, who's this weirdo? All right, next question. Can Katarina travel the abyss? Is that, I'm guessing this is referring to the fact that she touched Saturn, so she can presumably disguise herself as Saturn. That's a tough question.
Depends how you interpret Mark. This is entirely depending on how you interpret Mark.
Right. Like, is it like a physical badge, or
is it a physical badge on them? Is it a physical tattoo? Is that tattoo on his arm? Like, is that the mark? Or is it something else? Is it something inside them? Yeah. If you think it's just the tattoo, or that is the like even though, and the tattoo we're referring to is on Summer's left elbow, I think, right? Like, if that's what you think it is, then yes, it should be possible. I agree. If you think it's something else, then you can't make that argument just from having copied his physical body.
Right. Yeah, it's too tough. It's tough to say. I really wish that's one of those things where I'm like, I really want to know how are they doing all this travel? Like, what is the common tie that is connecting all these characters that they can use this weird power? There's a lot of questions being juggled there.
It doesn't help that he used mark in katakana. There is no kanji for it, so you can't determine what it actually is.
Right. Who will be Elbaf's arc boss? Is it going to be... do we think it's Loki? Or do we think it's just the, as you say, the extra CP9 members here that we're dealing with?
Can killing him still sleep someone and still activate a power? Because if he can, then whoever has like a worst nightmare or a worst dream, or is, oh my god, what if he slept Usopp?
I mean, here I'm thinking of like Loki or something. Like what if he, sleepwalks Loki? Maybe that. I guess that's something where Oda could simply say, like, the rule of power. He's just too powerful to succumb to.
Yeah. Well, like, you make a good point. Like, what is Loki afraid of, right?
Right.
Like, what if Loki is afraid of something? Then what is that? But like, Usopp is afraid of everything. So like if he slept Usopp, because it's, oh my god, it's so good. It's fear, right? And like Usopp needs to be the brave warrior. So like, what if he slept Usopp and it was everything that Usopp was ever afraid of? And what if he conquers all of it, including the kid's dreams? Holy shit. Oh my god.
Now don't set yourself up for disappointment here.
Oh my god. But that's what it is. It's because it's fear. What are you afraid of? and it's all Usopp. He's going to conquer those fears. He's going to pull out I don't know if he's going to be the one to pull out the sword. That's complicated, but he is definitely the impetus for that idea. But wow.
And the final question on this list, and this will be the final part of our SGS, is: does the Oro Jackson hold the final road poneglyph? That is interesting.
That'd be a cathartic answer to it, wouldn't it? If they get to explore that, and that's kind of their last step, is getting to explore. That's kind of neat. I like that. If you have any thoughts, but actually that brought up another thing in my mind. But go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember. Again, this could be something where like someone had some random one-off comment that I just forgot about, that like, oh, well, they destroyed the Oro Jackson after they or whatever. I don't recall. I don't think that we have any definitive word on what happened to it. But I know I was just going to say that, like, given the way that, Roger, the Rayleigh, Gibbon, that the principal figures of this crew do seem to pop up and kind of, in a way, guide the course of the story to kind of keep us on track. It does seem like that's a nice way to kind of round out that story, perhaps, as if that's where they find the last road poneglyph, and then maybe we get the final piece of story before we actually go to Laugh Tale from one or more of them. That would be cool.
So this is, if you will indulge me, this is just something that I stumbled upon while doing that Gavin piece that I was referring to earlier. But mentioning the Oro Jackson brought it up, but it's that giant egg was on the Oro Jackson.
Yes, yeah.
What if Gavin is in possession of that, or has been in possession of that? And what if it's here on the island? And what if it's hatched? If it is indeed an egg, and what if there's an actual dragon here somewhere? Like, I thought if the tree does fall, that would be a pretty baller way for them to escape on the back of a giant dragon.
Ooh,
like Sunny loaded up and all, and all the giants safely. That would be kind of cool.
I mean, what better place to hide a giant egg, or the thing that would hatch from the egg, than the Island of Giants?
Yes. What if it's like Dark Souls style? Like, what if that's actually like sleeping or resting at the top, in the land of heaven, which we have not seen anything from, if I recall correctly, right? Yeah.
And they were drawn diagrams and everything to show the relationship of the three worlds. So yeah, you figure we have to see that at some point, or it has to factor into the story somehow.
It's interesting that the Ragnir has stricken the bottom of the tree, so the fire will travel up the tree. So there needs to be an upward movement from this point forward.
That's good. Yeah, and it gives Oda his favorite thing.
All right, that was my little self-indulgence. Yeah.
It gives Oda his favorite thing, which is a reason for people to run and evacuate, and tell them to keep running and just keep running.
Yes.
Oh boy. Yeah, that sounds pretty likely. To be honest, I would not at all be shocked if that's where we're headed after this. Very cool. All right. Well, I'm looking at the cumulative time on our session here, and I think that we can call this an episode. What do you think?
Or two.
Yeah, or two. All right, let's round this one off.
Okay.
This has been the One Piece Podcast, episode 860 for the week of Monday, March 17th, 2025. another wonderful and enlightening episode of the SGS. And as always, it would not be possible.
Enlightening. I see what you did there.
Yeah. Without you, Greg. So, what's going on with you? You got anything to share? Anything you want the folks to know about before we go?
I got all the crowns in Monster Hunter Wilds.
So. Oh yeah. So you're done.
Yeah.
The game's over already.
I have a few more fish to catch, and then I think one or two trophies, and I think I got to kill a bunch of more specific monsters. And then I think we're good. I think, yeah, they really shaved it down by tweaking one item. They turned an 800-hour game into under 100 hours. I don't know if that's good or bad, but
yeah. Yeah, that's a double-sided sword there. Oof.
Yeah.
Well.
All right. But yeah, that's it. And if you're looking to find me, you can find me wherever the wind blows free.
All right. And if folks want to see what I'm posting about, it is over on Blue Sky at stephenpaul.bsky.social. And I've been telling folks, all of the simulpubs I'm working on. Obviously, One Piece and Akane Banashi are every week or most every week on Shonen Jump and MangaPlus. There's also monthly is Shoha Shoten, which is almost over, I believe. And now we have a bi-weekly release for Trillion Game, which I've been working on. That one has just gone live. So you can read the last couple chapters there. Although I believe somebody was telling me it is a mature series, so they don't put it in the app. You have to go on your browser, your internet browser, to check that out. But aside from that, you can check out our site at onepiecepodcast.com. Follow us on social media. Our Twitter account at One Piece Podcast is mostly inactive now. And we are much more busy over on Blue Sky at onepiecepodcast.com. That is where Adil, our hardworking news guy, shares all of the latest news and reminds everyone of the various anniversaries of important events in One Piece. You can also find us on YouTube and Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So basically, wherever you like to listen to your podcasts, you can find us there. And as we've been talking about, you do still have about 2 months worth of time where you can call our Skype voicemail line and leave a voicemail, and that is at 347-497-MAJI. That's 347-497-6254. Call anytime. And I only know that because I wrote it down, so don't worry, Steve. I would not have remembered it either. Yeah, we'll see. I'm really curious to see if we end up with like a nice little selection of them to play when Skype is truly dead. Yeah, it'll be the end of an era for the podcast.
Oh. Wait, Skype is truly dead?
It will be soon.
What's happening? What?
Shutting it down.
Are you kidding?
No. They announced this a little while ago. Yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
But I do believe Zach still is in possession of the phone number. I think I'm not sure how he registers that through Skype, but who knows? Maybe he'll find some way to hold on to that number. But at any rate, to do it the old-fashioned way that we've been talking about on this podcast for so long, you can call that number 347-497-6254. And that'll do it for us. We should have the manga returning next week, although as of this recording, I still have not seen it yet. So we will find out when that comes through. But until then, my name is Steven.
And I'm Greg.
And we'll see you again together in a couple weeks.
I can't believe they're getting rid of Skype.
I got nothing.
I'm sorry. I had no idea. I am dumbfounded. Wow. I thought that was just one of those things that just exists. Okay. Huh.